Hello, everybody, and welcome into an exclusive interview from Stadium Rant. We have a very special guest for you today. If I could read through his entire resume in the sport of basketball, I might not even get him onto the screen. But just to tell you, second team All Big East 2022, two-time Division II national champion, first team Division II All American 2021, All MIAA first team twice, second team All MIAA in 2019, Defensive Player of the Year twice, and three-time All Defensive Team in the MIAA, and now having plenty of success overseas in pro basketball. That man is Ryan Hawkins. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as most people wouldn't know, you and I are both Northwest Missouri State Bearcats at some point. So it's always cool to reconnect with you guys now that most of you are professionals from that basketball team and under Ben McCollum. But I like to kind of paint a picture here for everybody. Go backwards a little bit and go all the way back to your Atlantic days. And look at that guy right there. I mean, you were just a basketball player though, right? Like I think most people wouldn't know that unless they had talked to you about it. You played like pretty much every sport at Atlantic, right?
Yeah, I played six different ones.
Yeah, and I mean, how's that? How do you juggle that as a high school athlete?
Uh, it was mostly just about having fun. I thankfully had some very wise people tell me to go out for track so I could work on getting a little bit of speed work in. So I did track and soccer in the spring, and then in Iowa, baseball is in the summer. So had a lot of late nights there in the summer playing baseball, and then my freshman year did football and cross country in the fall. Sophomore year did not do cross country, and then junior senior year just cross country. Then obviously basketball in the winter months, but no, just stayed busy, enjoyed my childhood while I can, and felt like I made the most of my high school while I was there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that just sounds like you got the full experience out of it, at least athletics wise. And then you kind of jump into that next phase. Northwest Missouri State has you on the phone, and you're committed there. Kind of talk to me about that process. What was that like trying to put tape together and get coaches to, hey, here's my tape, and here's what I can bring to your team. What was that process like for you?
Honestly, it was kind of difficult at times. I averaged 22 and 13 in high school, and it was still difficult to get recruited just because I played, five sports every year in high school. So I never just focused on basketball. And if you talk to Coach McCollum or Coach Meyer, who was there as my freshman year, it's like it was very raw. There was not a lot of skill there, but thankfully I had some great coaches. And Zach Schneider was a senior my freshman year, and just watching him shoot a basketball, his footwork, his attention to detail on anything. I couldn't have asked for a better time to step into that program. And, I had a lot of really good people around me, and that they were willing to take me in and kind of, show me what hard work looks like and give me some pointers along the way and teach me to shoot a basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, lots of success at Northwest Missouri State, like you've been saying. I mean, there for 4 years, had a couple national championships out of it, and a lot of wins. And you mentioned Ben McCollum. He's having a lot of success now at the high D1 level. What's that like to have that coach that you learned so much from, see him have that level of success that you're having at the pro level too?
I think it kind of goes unsaid. Everyone that was in that Northwest program for all those years, they saw the hard work and the attention to detail and the focus and the intensity that Coach McCollum had. It's not a surprise to anyone the success that he's having at the next level. I mean, those of us that were around him, even those from outside of the program that just watched from afar, like it's not a surprise. It's not on accident that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think everybody kind of agreed after those first couple titles. It was like, all right, well, you might be getting a phone call for that next step up. We're just kind of waiting on it to happen. And speaking of that next step up, then you find yourself at Creighton for your last year of eligibility, and plenty of success there. I mean, you got some Power Five basketball experience, and that obviously got you enough looks to make it to the pro level. Talk to me about going into Creighton and being under Coach McDermott.
Yeah, I don't know, that one's tricky just because if I never had that COVID year of eligibility, I would have never left Northwest. You know, Maryville was my home. I'm very proud of everything we were able to accomplish there, and if that's where my college career would have ended, I would have been thrilled. But thankfully, I had the chance to go play for an awesome coach and Coach McDermott, and just continued to learn about my knowledge of the game, and obviously had a chance to be developed by another really good coach. So very thankful for all the relationships and the time I had at Creighton. It's pretty cool to get to go play in like Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament, and
Right.
just a lot of stuff on the basketball bucket list that I didn't know I had on there until
Sure.
off. It's like, okay, well, I just played in, Hinkle Fieldhouse, or, we beat UConn on the road there when they were ranked. And
Right.
I just had a lot of fun, and experiences I never thought I'd be able to have. So I just made sure to cherish those moments while I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big KU guy, but it was hard to like sit there and be like, oh, I really want Ryan to play very well, but I also want KU to advance. It was such a tough like that tournament game where you guys were playing against KU and everything. But yeah, that had to have been a very interesting year. I'm sure a lot of moving pieces happened quickly for you there at Creighton, and then you end up on Raptors 905. You get a G League look and you get some playing time there. I mean, hey, G League is pro basketball, and it's awesome to see you got to that point. So talk to me about what you got out of your time in the G League.
Yeah. I don't know. I look back on my time at the G League. It's like, it's not that it wasn't enjoyable, because like you said, it was still professional basketball, but it was like not the style of basketball I'm used to playing. As far as, I was in two college systems that emphasized like sharing the basketball, moving it, getting good looks, playing good defense, and trying to win the game. And then you go play in the G League, and it's like, it's not that it's not about winning games, but that's not the main goal anymore. It's about how good can you look to, try and get called up to the next level. It's like, it just wasn't as fun for me. I didn't lose love for the game, but I definitely didn't enjoy playing in the G League.
No,
Um,
yeah, and that hey, I mean, I think that's kind of something that gets lost in translation with the G League. Is it's not necessarily like it's not like minor league baseball where there's like independent leagues and stuff outside of the main kind of path. This is very much developmental. I want you to look at my tape and get to that next spot, like you said. So yeah, I definitely I understand that. And then after 905, I mean, you've been all over Europe. You've hit Italy. You were in France for a year, and now you wind up with the Skyliners in Germany. Talk to me about that European League experience. What's that been like? Your teammate Trevor Hudgens is also having success over in Europe. What's that been like for you?
yeah, it was pretty cool to get to play against Trevor last year. And I don't know if you remember Chrissy Boo and Dow,
Yeah. Oh
also
yeah.
played both of those guys last year. So it was pretty cool just to see, three former Bearcats playing in the same league overseas. Just very neat. But I also think it goes to, go back to Coach McCollum, his eye for talent. Trevor and I out like very under recruited out of high school. And I don't even want to say take a chance, but he just saw something there that nobody else did, and he knew how
Sure.
to. So, European basketball is really fun. I think a lot of the concepts that we run or we ran at Northwest came from like Europe basketball, as far as like Spain pick and roll, just the options we looked at as stuff, the high ball screen, all that originated in European basketball. So kind of getting back to that fun style of play where you got to kind of balance the skill and athleticism along with the intangible, like the smarts and the instincts of basketball. So just kind of blending that all together is a really fun experience.
Yeah, absolutely. What was kind of the transition like as far as time zone changes and all of that? I mean, that's got to be a big adjustment playing as much as basketball as you did over in the States and then having to adjust to that kind of stuff. What was that like for you in that aspect?
I think now it's just a job. You have a bad game or two in college, you're gonna have two, three coaches get in the gym with you, work on it, and they're gonna pat you on the back and say, it's okay. Like everyone goes through a slump. You get to the professional side of things, it's like it's a job now. Your livelihood depends on how well you can perform. So I think there's just a little bit more added pressure because of that. But at the same time, you just have to take extreme ownership of it, and you've got to realize, like, hey, I didn't shoot the ball great the last 2 games. Like, I need to make sure I'm getting extra shots up, and making sure you're doing the little things that you need to do to be at as best as you can for the next game. So I just think, the professional side of things in Europe, you just have to take extreme ownership. You think about, like, you're 7 hours ahead over here. So I'm a big Chiefs fan. Chiefs play on a Thursday night, and I've got Friday morning practice. Like, college Ryan wants to stay up and watch that game, but
right.
Professional Ryan, like, I probably need to go to bed and not stay up for that game and watch it after practice on Friday or something like that. But I just think the accountability and the ownership part of it definitely is highlighted more professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a great way of putting that. There's little aspects from when you lived over in the States that might not be able to do over there with that time change. Yeah. What would you say has been the most fun part so far in the Europe League?
Just seeing everything. I mean, when I lived in Italy, I was 15 minutes from Florence, Italy, right in Tuscany.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
An hour away from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I was a 90-minute train ride from Rome. So I just got to see a lot of history, a lot of really cool stuff. In France, I lived right on the beach, kind of by Bordeaux on the southwest
Oh,
coast.
okay. Wow.
Just seeing different areas of the world, seeing different cultures, and just honestly, it's the people too that, like, I remember the most. Just former teammates that I've had over here. Random people you run into and you just continue to see throughout the city. That happens a lot less in Frankfurt with how big it is. Just the relationships are still the biggest part that I'll take away from basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there like a major difference between each of those leagues? Because I mean, Italy and France, I mean, they're kind of similar from what I've seen, but then Germany has like its own league. Is there a major difference between those, or do they all kind of operate kind of under the same umbrella?
Uh, they're the same, but they're different. Like, if that makes any sense. So they're all three their own individual leagues. But like the French league, for example, is a very athletic league, very fast paced, up and down. Um, you know, German basketball is probably a little bit slower than the French league, but it's still an athletic, up and down league. Compared to Italy, where it was more half court based, and
Okay.
you like run a set play. You're taking 20 seconds off the shot clock most possessions. Like, you'd have some games where it was kind of attracting me up and down, but in general, I felt like the Italian league was a little bit slower, a little bit more, I don't know, like smart basketball. You're making reads.
Right. Maybe more like the college level where you have more of that setup kind of deal where you want to see guys hit your X's and O's in their spots versus just pick and roll for 20 seconds, move the ball a little bit, and hope you get a bucket out of it. But what would and this is what I'll always try to do for the last question I've done with the guests we've had on here. What is something that Ryan Hawkins now would tell high school Ryan when he's trying to go through the recruiting process and just finishing up his high school sports and everything and waiting on those phone calls? What would you tell that Ryan now?
Just go where you're wanted. It might not be the first school, it might not be the last school that reaches out, but that school that is always in contact that you have a good feeling with, just trust your gut on that. And I got so lucky with my recruiting process, so I'm not the one to really go to for advice on that, but just go where you want to go with what feels right to you. And at the same time, nowadays with NIL, chances are most people aren't going to get life-changing NIL money. So go somewhere where you're going to have the experience that you want. You're going to be able to get the college degree that you want and set yourself up for life in that way.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for talking with me. I know you're a busy guy, got practice and all this stuff, and trying to find an open window, 7 hours difference can be difficult, but thank you for joining me.
Appreciate it, Nolan.
Yep, absolutely.